My main work is counseling, and the teaching was more of a sideshow that I had time, and they asked me if I would help the students understand some of the skills and all that sort of stuff.
So why am I teaching? It's my ministry presently here in the Capuchin Province of St. Conrad. When I first came out to Kansas, my first assignment was to teach high school students at Thomas Warcraft Marian High School. After about 8 years in parish ministry, I was asked to begin our postulancy program, and one of the key facets of postulancy was to teach the basics of our Catholic faith. So I got into the rhythm of teaching, and I found it very enjoyable.
What happened was the Benedictine monk who was teaching psychology and also running psychological services, so counseling up there, heard that I was getting trained for it. I was getting my doctoral degree in pastoral counseling. So he approached my provincial at that time to ask if they would consider assigning me to Conception to work.
After many years working in formation, I was considering doing missionary work, and I actually went out to Guam to help friars out there, and visited Japan, where the New York province had a mission. But on my return, provincial at that time, Father Charles Prolifka, urged me to pursue doctoral studies at St. Louis University. And by the time I turned 50, I had a PhD, ready to teach, and was given the opportunity to teach in England at the Franciscan International School, and then later at an Italian seminary in Modena, run by the Capuchins. After that, I was asked to come back to the States, and after that, I served in leadership. Finishing my term as provincial minister, I began to teach here in San Antonio at the Oblate School of Theology, as well as just recently a course at St. Mary's University. And I find it very enriching, and I'm able to use my ability to teach even in my formation programs. Yes, I'm also the formation director down here in Texas.
So the idea behind the course would be to take what are some of the key issues that it would be good for a priest to know in working in a parish or any other kind of pastoral ministry. What are some of the things he's going to encounter? What would be good for him to have at least some basic background and information in those kind of topics. And then the second part of it has to do with developing the skills. So we do role play. I present a model of counseling, and then we take different elements of that, kind of break it down. But they implement it by doing role playing. The students will bring their own issues that they feel comfortable talking with one another, and we make an agreement in the course that anything you bring that's personal, the entire class agrees. What's said in this class, we're going to treat it like we would in a parish. So if a parishioner comes to talk with you, you don't feel free to talk about their issues with other parishioners. We're going to do the same in the seminary setting. So it's like a parallel process. They learn to both keep confidentiality with what's told to them, plus they learn the skills of the counseling in that process as well. It appeals to the seminarians because they see this as a real practical way of learning something that they're going to use in ministry. One thing that's very rewarding about it is the guys are really interested in learning the information and developing their own skills. So it's a fun course to teach because they could see how it applies, and it's good to see them learning and growing.
If I'm asked what's the difference between the teaching I do in formation for the guys who are training to be friars and the teaching I'm doing at the university, primarily at the university I teach foundational theology, introductory courses that deal with revelation, faith, tradition, scripture. I also deal with historical periods like the medieval period and the early modern period. I've also taught various other systematic theology courses, but with regard to guys in formation, my focus primarily has been on prayer and contemplation. I also worked for many years with the revising of our constitutions in Rome. So I'm able to explain the changes in our legislation. Primarily, our formation for our life has got to do with studies in Franciscan spirituality, Franciscan history, and especially of the Capuchin reform and our uniqueness in the Capuchin family, in the Franciscan family. So those are among the topics that I have dealt with in my studies and in my teaching. One of the reasons that theology is an important aspect of formation, both to our life as well as to our ministry, formation for our life requires, especially in the Capuchin tradition, a very strong commitment to prayer and contemplation. Our Franciscan tradition also is somewhat unique in that it has a historical focus. Think about Francis of Assisi contemplating the Christmas crib or the cross. The Franciscan tradition has always been strong on an evangelical emphasis, not just preaching, but communicating God's message. So I think a good background and solid background in theology, in Franciscan studies, and spirituality is crucial to formation, both for our life, living as friars minor, but also for our ministry, preaching the gospel.